Baseball has a gambling problem, and it's getting worse. Last week, Cleveland Guardians closer Emmanuel Clase was accused of throwing, quote, suspicious pitches in at least 48 games over a 2-year span. The federal government alleges that Clase manipulated his performance in dozens of games, conspiring with bettors from 2023 through July of 2025, when the pitcher was placed on leave by MLB. Now, this is a developing story, so I want to emphasize that everything here is alleged. As of now, nothing has been proven in a court of law. But here's what we know. In December of 2019, the Texas Rangers traded Emmanuel Clase to Cleveland in exchange for starter Corey Kluber. At the time, Clase was coming off of an impressive first year. His cutter, which averaged 99.2 miles an hour, was the fastest in baseball. On May 1st, 2020, Clase tested positive for PEDs. He was given an 80-game suspension and missed the COVID-shortened season. In 2021, he had a 1.29 ERA over 71 games. He was an all-star the next year, leading baseball in saves. He'd do the same in 2023. In 2024, Clase was historically great. He went 47 for 50 in save opportunities, walked just 10 batters, and allowed 5 earned runs in 74 innings. His ERA of 0.61 was the second lowest ever for a reliever. By 2025, Emmanuel Clase was halfway through a 5-year, $20 million contract extension. That year alone, he was set to make $4.9 million, with another $6.4 million in 2026.
What is the biggest motivation you have to be the best closer in the world?
Nada, en verdad, trabajar duro, mantenerme siempre enfocado.
The motivation is doing my best every time I can, not paying attention to the results or the numbers, just do the best every time, every opportunity I can.
That same year, another pitcher joined the Guardians staff. Luis Ortiz, a 26-year-old righty, had been acquired from the Pittsburgh Pirates in the offseason. Through his first 16 starts, Ortiz had a 4-9 record. His ERA was a full run higher than the previous season. In July, he was placed on paid leave through the end of the All-Star break. MLB was investigating 2 pitches in particular. Here's the first, during a June 15th game against the Mariners. With Randy Arozarena batting, Ortiz threw a first-pitch slider way out of the zone. 2 weeks later, during an appearance against the Cardinals, Ortiz spiked another first-pitch slider. This one wasn't even close.
Pedro Paez leads off and takes one that is just a little bit outside, just to quote another movie that had something to do with Cleveland and baseball.
Thank you, Bob Uecker.
That same month, a betting integrity firm sent an alert to sportsbook operators, flagging multiple bets placed in Ohio, New York, and New Jersey. On July 28th, Emmanuel Clase was also placed under investigation. Neither would pitch again that season.
And now this from Major League Baseball. Guardians pitchers Emmanuel Clase and Luis Ortiz have been charged with fraud, conspiracy, and rigging pitches. Prosecutors said in the indictment that Clase and Ortiz threw specific pitches for balls so bettors could place prop bets and profit.
In November 2025, Emmanuel Clase was arrested at JFK Airport. Luis Ortiz was arrested at Logan International Airport in Boston. They were released on bail, had their passports confiscated, and submitted to GPS tracking.
Before appearing in court at his arraignment today, Clase flew into JFK Airport in New York from the Dominican Republic. Upon his arrival, once he landed, he was arrested by FBI agents at the airport.
According to prosecutors, Clase and Ortiz accepted thousands of dollars in bribes from gamblers, helping them win prop bets on the velocity and result of their pitches. They say that Clase often did this on the first pitch of the at-bat, making sure they were well outside of the strike zone. In return, the reliever would receive kickbacks from bettors. The scheme allegedly goes back to 2023.
In the indictment today, it did say Emmanuel Clase started this scheme allegedly back in May of 2023. However, feds were not tipped off to this until one of those betting integrity firms found irregularities in wagers that were placed on those days that Luis Ortiz allegedly threw those pitches that were gambled on.
Both pitchers maintained their innocence, but the more information that comes out, the worse things look. According to Ortiz's attorney, Emmanuel Clase has identified at least 250 pitches on which bets were placed, thrown across 48 separate games. That is a gut-wrenching number. For context, between 2023 and 2025, Clase made 197 regular season appearances. If these allegations are true, this would mean he rigged pitches in nearly a quarter of his games. In the end, this scheme won the gamblers a total of $460,000. As of now, both Clase and Ortiz remain on paid leave by the league. Their trial is scheduled to begin in May, but even if they aren't found guilty in a court of law, the evidence may be enough for MLB to ban them.
This is about the integrity of the sport, and Major League Baseball, if they are found guilty, very likely would levy lifetime bans against them, as they did against Pete Rose and have done against others.
If this happens, their contracts will be voided. Ortiz, who would be entering his 5th season, is coming off a 1-year deal worth $782,000. Clase, meanwhile, would lose out on $6.4 million for 2026, plus 2 years of team options worth $10 million each. $27 million and 2 MLB careers, forfeited for a scheme that netted them, at most, less than $500,000. This is just the latest in a wave of gambling scandals to hit professional sports. In early 2024, Shohei Ohtani's interpreter, Ippei Mizuhara, was revealed to have stolen $17 million from the MVP, using it to place illegal sports bets.
Mizuhara pleaded guilty last year to bank and tax fraud. He admitted to stealing nearly $17 million from Ohtani's bank account to pay his own gambling debts. Investigators say the Dodgers star had no involvement and was an unknowing victim.
A few months later, MLB issued a lifetime ban to Padres infielder Tucupita Marcano for betting on his own team. 4 others were suspended for a year, including former first-round draft pick Jay Groom. Umpire Pat Hoberg was fired in 2025 after he shared a betting account with a friend, who then used it to gamble on baseball. But this isn't just a baseball problem. In the past few years alone, dozens of athletes have been suspended, fired, or arrested in connection with gambling. In 2022, Falcons receiver Calvin Ridley was suspended for violating the NFL's gambling policy. In April of last year, 6 people were charged for a betting scheme involving Toronto Raptors forward Jontay Porter. Last October, more than 30 people, including NBA Hall of Famer Chauncey Billups and Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier, were arrested as part of an FBI investigation into illegal gambling.
Prosecutors say New York crime families invited people to play against stars like Billups and Jones, but the games involved rigged card counters, x-ray tables, even players wearing x-ray contacts to see cards and cheat victims out of millions of dollars.
In 2018, the Supreme Court legalized sports betting nationwide. Since then, 38 states, plus Washington, D.C., have opened new markets. In the last 8 years, Americans have placed over $600 billion in sports bets. Revenue in 2024 alone reached $13.71 billion. That's more than Major League Baseball, the NHL, and the NBA. The gambling industry is a behemoth, and it's everywhere. Betting apps have taken over TV, commercial breaks, even the games themselves. There are bonuses for signing up, and offers for placing your first bet. By not doing it, it feels like you might be leaving money on the table. But are you? A recent study out of UCLA found that in states where online sports betting was allowed, people are 25% more likely to file for bankruptcy. Another found that households that use betting apps lose an average of $1,100 per year. Those who bet on apps tend to invest less and see an increase in debt. What's interesting, though, is that this doesn't happen with gambling itself. It's online betting specifically where we're seeing problems. Companies will brag about how it's easier than ever to use these apps. And I guess that's true. 10 years ago, you couldn't place a legal sports bet outside of Nevada. Today, you can lose everything, all without leaving your home. Everything is gambling now. Sports, entertainment, politics, the grocery store. A year before Emmanuel Clase became the subject of a federal gambling investigation, the pitcher signed a deal with a startup called Finlete.
Join Cleveland Guardians all-star closer Emmanuel Clase on Finlete.
I am Emmanuel Clase and play for Cleveland Guardians.
Buy shares now, and starting in 2025, get paid a dividend twice a year for the rest of his MLB career. Emmanuel Clase isn't just another player. He's a 2-time All-Star and one of the league's top closers. This isn't a donation, it's not gambling, it's an investment.
Thank you for investing in my career.
Based out of San Diego, Finlete allows fans to invest, quote-unquote, in an athlete. The athlete then receives that money up front, in exchange for a portion of their future earnings. Clase's offering with Finlete raised about $315,000 from 282 accounts. Over $237,000 of that went to the pitcher. In return, Finlete and its investors now own 0.29% of his future income. Companies like Finlete have long drawn scrutiny over these deals. In 2017, Big League Advance signed a $2 million contract with Fernando Tatis Jr. At the time, Tatis was 18 years old and MLB's number 8 overall prospect. He told The Athletic that he was using the money to pay for a personal trainer, better food, and a nicer apartment. A few years later, Tatis emerged as one of the best players in the league. In 2021, he signed a $340 million extension with San Diego. Soon enough, though, Big League Advance came calling. See, in exchange for the $2 million they'd given him, Tatis had agreed to give them 10% of his career earnings, roughly $34 million. In June of 2025, the shortstop sued the company. In October, Tatis was ordered to give Big League Advance $3.74 million in back pay while the suit was being decided. If it fails, he'll owe them $3.4 million a year until 2034. Arrangements like this are becoming more common. The MLB Players Association has raised concerns about potential for exploitation. For now, though, these deals are allowed. Rob Connolly, the co-founder of Finlete, thinks that it's just a matter of time before the public forgets about Emmanuel Clase. They'll say, oh, Finlete, that's the company that signed Justinson Garcia, or one of those players, and he just signed a huge contract. That's what we're working towards. Look, I'm not saying we need to ban sports betting altogether, but maybe, and this is my opinion, we can pull back just a little bit. Sure, you can put the blame on the players for getting themselves involved, and there's no excuse for what Emmanuel Clase or Luis L. Ortiz did. All I'm saying, though, is that when gambling is easier than ever before, when players are incentivized to cash in now instead of later, and when sports betting is being advertised within the game itself, can we really be surprised? Let me know what you think in the comments. Subscribe for more videos like this. And if you want to support me and this channel, consider becoming a member. Thanks for watching.